Well, this is the portion of our service that we devote to Bible prophecy, and by way of a prophecy update today, we would like to look at, as we usually do, the nation of Israel. Again, we see Israel as the prophetic clock by which we know what time it is on God's clock. Now, today, for the update, I want to talk about something that has really been on my heart lately. It's become of grave concern lately, especially in recent months and most recently just in the last couple of weeks. And it has to do with the U.S. and this current administration and our support of the nation Israel. I think that we have all but removed what little support we had for Israel. Now, why is that such a grave concern? Well, simply put, the Jews are God's chosen people. And God gave the land we know today as Israel, the land flowing with milk and honey, to his chosen people, the Jew. Now, some of you are looking at me and you're keenly aware that I am an Arab. And an Arab is telling you that the Jew is and are still God's chosen people. Now, if I could take it a step further, the problem here is that God made a promise to Abraham. And he told Abraham that he would bless the nation that would bless his children, the nation Israel, and conversely, he would curse a nation who does not bless, but in fact curses Israel. It's found in, I'm sure you're familiar with it, the book of Genesis, the 12th chapter, and verses 1 through 3, which I'd like to read for you. The Lord had said to Abram, "Leave your country," speaking of Ur of the Chaldees, "your people and your father's household, and go to the land I will show you. I will make you into a great nation, and I will bless you. I will make your name great, and you will be a blessing. I will bless those who bless you, and whoever curses you, I will curse. And all peoples on earth will be blessed through you." So there's a blessing. It started with Abraham. It started in the book of beginnings, the book of Genesis. Well, just within the last few weeks, it's become clear that when Israel looks to the United States for support, she's not only not met with support or a blessing, but in fact, rejection. I'm going to make a statement. It's going to seemingly be bold. I believe it's now a foregone conclusion that we have a president who has demonstrated that he's pro-Palestinian and not pro-Israel. Joel Rosenberg, whom I know a lot of you follow on his blog spot, had this to say with a headline reading, "Train Wreck. Netanyahu heading for U.S. as Israeli trust in President Obama plummets." This was on the 3rd of November, prior to Netanyahu's trip to the White House. He says, quote, "If I had to rank the most pro-Israel leaders in the Western Alliance right now, Canadian Prime Minister Stephen Harper and French President Nicolas Sarkozy would top the list. President Obama wouldn't even be on the list." Last Friday night, I gave an address to the Christian Embassy banquet in Northern Virginia. The title of my talk was "Trainwreck: The Coming Collision of U.S.-Israeli Relations." With deep concern and regret, I noted that just as the Iranian nuclear threat is worsening, we are currently witnessing the worst strains in U.S.-Israel relations in memory. Israel's plummeting confidence that the White House truly understands their security needs and will stand with them as a faithful ally is the result of numerous actions and statements by the president and his senior advisors. If I was to ask for a show of hands, I won't, so don't raise your hands, but if I was to ask for a show of hands, how many of you know that Benjamin Netanyahu, the Prime Minister of Israel, was recently here at the White House? Did you know that? I see a lot of heads nodding no. Do you know why you don't know that? Because nobody talked about it. It is astonishing to me how silent the media has been, even Fox News. Amazingly. Netanyahu has just met with the President of the United States of America, and nobody knows what happened, save one from the Jerusalem Post, one Caroline Glick. I've really always appreciated her commentaries. She had this to say about the Netanyahu visit. Headline, Obama's failure, Netanyahu's opportunity. This is from the Jerusalem Post. Quote, once again, U.S. President Barack Obama has demonstrated his intention of putting light between America and Israel. His hostility towards Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu during the latter's visit to Washington this week was breathtaking. It isn't every day that you can see an American president leaving the prime minister of an allied government twisting in the wind for weeks before deciding to grant him an audience at the White House. It isn't every day that a visiting leader from a strategically vital U.S. ally is brought into the White House in an unmarked van in the middle of the night rather than greeted like a friend at the front door, is forbidden to have his picture taken with the president, is forced to leave the White House alone through a side exit, and is ordered to keep the contents of his meeting with the president secret. She goes on to say, the ironic thing about Obama's nastiness towards Netanyahu and his arrogant treatment of the American Jewish community is that while it has made him the first U.S. president to have no credibility among Israelis and has caused a 14% drop in his support among American Jews, it has failed utterly to earn him the trust of the Muslim world. Interesting. Let me connect some prophetic dots here and why this is so serious. See, if the U.S. turns her back on Israel, then God says, I will turn my back on the U.S. Can I say it this way? I think he has. I think he has. It's not because he doesn't want to bless us. It's that he can't bless us, because to bless us, absent us blessing Israel, is to go against his word. And God cannot go against his word. Now, as far as connecting the prophetic dots, there is an explanation for this. Now, please, I'm not excusing this. I'm simply explaining this and perhaps giving the why behind the what we see happening with this current administration and the support of Israel. See, the U.S. isn't even a player in the end-time prophetic program. I don't have chapter and verse to quote you because there's no chapter and verse that specifically speaks of the United States of America anywhere in the entirety of the pages of Holy Writ. Now, some Bible teachers suggest that the United States of America is actually mentioned collectively when the Bible talks in the context of prophecy about all the nations of the earth. And I want to talk about that in just a moment, so please put that in your hip pocket. So the first dot that I want to connect as to the why behind the what, explaining, not excusing what we're doing as a country in turning our backs on Israel, is that the U.S. isn't mentioned. Maybe that's why. It would surely fill in a few blanks, wouldn't it? You don't have to be the sharpest knife in the drawer to figure out that the United States of America